Hello everyone, I'm Josue, Crimz Rojano, and I'm actually very honored to be able to introduce Jason, the legendary Klaczynski. Jason, you've obviously been doing extremely well at tournaments before. Here you are at U.S. Nationals 2012, the biggest tournament of the in the history of the Pokemon TCG. What's your record?
I'm 4-1 right now. I took a loss round 3 in a really close game. I chose to play a Vileplume, Mismagius, Terrakion, Darkrai EX deck. And the idea is, of course, to move energy around with the Mismagius so that Darkrai gives you free retreat, and then you kind of just bounce between high hit point things that they're not able to one-hit KO, and then you can use Seeker and Pokemon Center to heal those damaged Pokemon on the bench. So you give up a lot of prizes early when your Mischievous and your Oddishes get knocked out, but then eventually you got the board kind of locked up when the Pokemon Centers in play.
You said Pokemon Center. That's a card not very many people know about. Not very many people actually bother even reading. Can you kind of explain what it even does?
Well, it's a lot different than the base set trainer Pokemon Center. Pokemon Center is a stadium that allows you to remove 2 damage counters from one of your benched Pokemon per turn. So you'll use Darkrai EX to give free retreat to Terrakion, Darkrai itself, after it's been taken a hit, and then slowly heal each turn that 20 damage while you attack with another Pokemon. Now, what's great about this is that it doesn't benefit our opponent as much, because since we have such a wide variety of types of attackers, we're going to one-hit KO a lot of things with weakness. So I run Shaman EX, I run Terrakion, I run Darkrai. We have a variety of different Pokemon we can use to attack their weakness, and by one-hit KOing them, they don't really have an opportunity to use Pokemon Center effectively against us.
Exactly. Now, I guess there's one thing that I do want to mention. It seems like coming into this weekend, everybody was talking about Vileplume decks with Vanillix. They were talking about Vileplume decks with Excelgor. Now it seems like coming out of this weekend, coming out of day one, we've been talking about nothing but Vileplume decks with Meganium, Vileplume decks with Klinklang, or Klinklang on its own. All these decks use a very similar kind of strategy to what you're doing. You use Mismagius, which is a little bit different. It's a stage 1 instead of what would be a stage 2 by them. Do you feel like your deck has an advantage over these decks, or it might be a better play for Nationals?
Well, the advantages and disadvantages are simple. Meganium and Klinklang work almost exactly the same way. It's the same concept. Move energy to a new Pokemon, Seeker or Pokemon Center, the damaged one when it goes to the bench. The advantage is, of course, that you can move as many energy as you'd like. So you have more options for attack, surprise your opponent. You can pull 3 energy to a Darkrai with no energy and Night Spear out of nowhere. Versus with Mismagius, you're limited to that 1 per turn. So if you are more careful about it and you think ahead, you can anticipate where your energy is going to need to be, and that 1 energy move per turn is usually going to be sufficient. And then, of course, the advantage we get is the tremendous consistency advantage of just having to play a stage 1. When you get that Vileplume out first before a Klinklang or a Meganium, and you do want to get it out first because you want to stop the trainers as soon as possible, then you have trouble getting out the Klinklang or the Meganium because you can't rare cannon to it. So you give up more prizes, you fall too far behind, and you lose. So that's why I like Mismagius more.
Yeah, it seems like even though they play very few trainers, they rely on their trainers. They rely on their Pokemon communications to be able to get their stage 2s. I mean, you don't just naturally get these cards. So you try to stop them from doing that, and then, hey, look, once the Vileplume's in play, it's fair game. You get your stage 2 out, cool, I'm only getting a stage 1, etc. I can see how that works. I can see that doing extremely well in a big field like Nationals. You're no stranger to big fields. You're no stranger to high-level competition in Pokemon. You've been playing in every high-level event in the Pokemon TCG. Do you feel honored to be able to be a part of the biggest Pokemon TCG tournament of all time?
Oh, absolutely, and it's been so fun to see the event grow every year. Every year we come back, the event's bigger, and every year it's harder too. People get better, people get more experience because it's a lot of the same players, and it's just a blast. It's cool to see the game grow. And going back to Vanillix, which you talked about, there's a lot of hype about Vanillix. I love Vanillix. I've played Vanillix since City Championships. The deck's great. I chose to play it with Mew, Darkrai, and Terrakion just because you get a consistency advantage with Relicanth.
Correct.
When you can discard those, when you can lost on a Pokemon with Relicanth's Prehistoric Wisdom and get 3 cards, that really takes away those unfortunate games where you bench 2 Oddish, they catch or KO1, and oops, I don't have a Twins or a Rare Candy Bloom, and now I lose when Oddish gets catch or KO next turn again. So I try to copy that concept with the Mismagius, and while most people were running something like a 2-2 line with Mismagius, I chose to go with 4 Mischievous because it's not a bad opener. For 1 Psychic, Mischievous allows both players to draw 3 cards.
Yeah, that's actually excellent.
That doesn't work as well as Relicanth because it can backfire when they get those 3 cards. They can put early pressure on. They'll also, against Darkrai decks, it helps them get the Eviolite early, and the Eviolite of Darkrai is really hard to deal with. So it's not perfect. 60 hit points can also be turned 1 by a Tornado CX. It has some small other disadvantages like that, but overall, I love Vanillix, but the fact that Espeon was showing up, you can't play a deck that just loses to a 1-1 line like that, and it does lose to that. There's no way for Vanillix to beat that. So as much as I love that deck and it was my favorite deck, I chose to switch to Mismagius.
You know what's interesting, and I can honestly say this with with full certainty. It's really interesting to be able to get into the mind of one of the obviously greatest Pokemon players of all time. It's the way you describe your matches, the way you describe these setups. I mean, it's very unique, and very few people can actually, first of all, follow what you're saying. Second of all, even be able to have the ability to describe something as well as you do. That just proves how much of an understanding of the game that you have. And there's no doubt in anybody's mind that your victories and your how well you've done at these tournaments has been no fluke whatsoever. You've had a lot of tournament victories in your past. I'm sure you have a lot of tournament victories left in your future. You are 4-1. You are in great shape to make the top cut at U.S. Nationals, the largest tournament. Again, I have to stress this: it's 1,000+ players. That's ridiculous. I don't think I ever imagined, a few years ago, seeing a 1,000+ player Masters field. And here we are now, even after they tried to stop people from playing at this Masters tournament. I'm surprised. I'm very excited for you. I'm excited to see what's in store for your future. Obviously, great mind for Pokemon. It feels almost like this is what you were born to do, as silly as that might sound. And I'm sure that everybody's really excited to be following you and follow your path to see how far you can go and see if you can win again. If you do win again, this is going to be actually your very first Nationals victory. Would that cement it as one of your greatest victories of all time? Would it be your favorite, second favorite, third favorite?
Winning Worlds is always the best thing, just because the tournament's viewed as more prestigious, even though I've said 100 times that Nationals is the hardest tournament in the world. There's too many good American players that don't qualify for Worlds. And so winning Nationals would be a huge deal to me. I would love to win a national championship. Regarding the 1,000+ people, I couldn't have pictured that either. And I've always thought too, regarding Pokemon and the decks, I always thought my best attribute was the ability to tweak a deck list to perfection. And 2 nights ago, Adam Vernola was playing a Vileplume Mismagius deck, and there were a few things that were off. There were Professor Juniper and stuff in the deck, but I kind of liked what I saw, so I stayed up last night till about 3 in the morning working on the list, and I'm really happy with the list that I came to.
So you built this deck last night at 3 a.m.?
I did. I had never played a game with it before, and I looked at the list, and I was trying to think of it like I thought of Mew Relicanth, and I was like, how can I make this more consistent? So I upped the Mischievous to 4, upped my Psychic Energy, so I'm able to use that dual draw attack on turn 1, and so far I would say that I would not change a card. I absolutely love the way the deck's playing, and from this point on, I'm just hoping, to maybe lose 1 or 0 more and get into the cut.
A lot of us, we switch our decks last minute, but we've been playtesting these other decks for a long time. We're confident. We're like, you know what? Maybe I'm not so confident in this deck choice. I'll play test this. I'll play this other deck that I've been playtesting for X amount of time. You're sitting here going at 3 a.m. You're like, you know what? I guess Renault might have been onto something. Let me see what I can do. Well, you know what? These 60 seem fine. Let's go.
I didn't really have a choice because my 2 favorite decks were the Mew Vanillix deck and Durant. And in this format, both those decks have been obliterated. Durant got absolutely destroyed by Darkrai EX. It just cannot compete with the Darkrai EX deck. Your Devour just feeds their Dark Patches. I've been so lucky in some playtesting games against Darkrai EX, and just like I expected, you cannot beat that deck no matter what. So, unfortunately, I did have to give up on my favorite deck, Durant. But then I was fortunate enough to come across another deck, Mew Vanillix, loved the deck, and then that ran into Vanillix Counter, which is the Espeon or maybe unknown with Secret or Reuse and remove the special conditions. So I had to switch last minute, and there were things that I didn't really play. I never really played Zekrom Electric much. I played a couple games. I played Celebi Mewtwo decks. I never really liked those decks. I felt they were not as consistent as people thought. So I wanted something that was consistent. I like things that turn off trainers. I mean, when you have an ability that removes 50% of someone's deck as playable, it's easy to understand the advantage it's going to give you. So that's why I ended up with the deck I did, and I'm happy I made the change.
You know what? I'm surprised that you decided to go with this deck. When I first heard about it, I was like, how does that even work? But you know what? You're 4-1. I'm not surprised anymore. I'm actually happy for you. I'm confident that you're going to do very well. I'm confident that you're going to get very deep in the cut. And who knows? This might be your year. I hope it is. If anybody can say that they're a favorite to, let me take that back, guys. The way this works is you can ask anybody in this field, and they'll tell you that one of their top 2 choices for winning nationals is Jason Klaczynski. That's the truth.
That's only because I got one more win than Kyle, right? So I need an extra game on him to be the favorite.
So I'm telling you guys right now, You can ask anybody in the field; they'll say Jason Klaczynski. I'll say Jason Klaczynski is one of my top 2 picks. Alex Brissot will say Jason Klaczynski is one of his top 2 picks. Here we go. Congratulations on doing well so far, and I hope you do very well.
Thank
and
you,
we'll
Josue.
keep following you up.
I will see you tomorrow.
Thank you.